In 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, guys, to another special edition of the G for Guzman podcast. What's going on, guys? Surrounded by my brother Mike G, Amanda G, Johnny G, and you know me, Matt G. Here we are back at it, guys. I'm still a little hungover from that Cinco de Drinko edition we did, man. I was feeling a little good.
I'm not drinking anymore.
I'm not drinking anymore, you know. I mean, I'm drinking whiskey, but that's what I'm just sticking to one liquor a night. No more mixing, you know, tequila, whiskey, and all that.
Or not that day, but the next day.
I mean, I was a little...
I live for the
little hungover on Wednesday.
I was just more tired in the morning. Waking up the next day was just I was a little more sleepy. Mandy was shit-faced that night. I know she got pretty wasted that night.
And I was just recording.
Yeah, no, she was just recording. She got. That's how much we were drinking.
No, I had a little bit of that pre-made margarita, the one that comes in that little six-pack or something.
Why did they have to say it like that, dude? I had a little bit of that pre-made margarita, like knocking you a little bit, dude. It was good. It was good as well.
No, I mean, I had a different one.
Pre-made, aren't they?
I didn't have the one Michael made or Michael put together. Eric bought me like a separate little six-pack.
That's right. The little bottles, right?
Yeah, those little
those
pink
are pretty
bottles.
good. I tasted them. Yeah. Shout out to Eric G. He's gonna get mad at that one. Eric P. I'm sorry, Eric Peñalosa the third. Man, hold up. So we're here back at it, guys. Kind of recovering from the Cinco de Mayo. A lot going on, man. I don't know if y'all have heard about that. And I hate bringing up names and all that, especially when there's such a not big commotion. Rightfully so, there's a big commotion about it. But this shooting in Georgia of Ahmaud Arbery. Am I saying that correct?
Arbery, I think.
Ahmaud Arbery. Yeah, that's been going around. You've been seeing that on your Instagram, guys?
I think today was the whole...
Maybe that 2.3 miles earlier today. I know you went running. Was that because of that, or was it just coincidence? Because there's a thing for...
I've heard about it, but I don't know like the details of it until you told me today.
Yeah, so. I don't really focus too much into the news too much, like current events, but this one's just been so widespread, and like I said, rightfully so. Seeing that stuff just breaks my heart, man. Pisses me off. And before we go any forward, man, do you want to give a little breakdown of it? I mean, I know you were reading the article a little bit.
I honestly, I saw it on social media today. Yeah. I saw some
it's been all over.
Yeah, I saw some friends posting, like, I ran for Ahmaud Arbery today. Mm-hmm. I think it's 2.23 miles or something like that. Jogging, running for him.
Oh, it's 2.2? I ran 2.2, actually.
Oh, really?
That's what, because when I saw you earlier, when I went to the house,
I don't want people to be listening and say, not at all, it's a 2.23.
Cool, that's cool.
And the reason I say that is because I know this happened back in February, so I know it's 2-point-something miles.
Oh, this happened in February?
This happened in February.
It didn't happen recently, right?
No, that's why a lot of people are really upset.
We'll give a quick breakdown of it, because we're talking all over the place.
So,
anyways, real quick, I'll let you get into it. But there was a shooting, and the guys who shot this man, he was killed.
No, but I thought it happened.
But today it's a big day because today they finally got arrested. They hadn't been arrested for the shooting that they did.
Like almost like 3 months
because of the quarantine and Corona and all that. Supposedly that's why they hadn't been arrested. But people are calling BS on that, saying they haven't been arrested because they're trying to get away with it.
Do crimes and we'll get to you when we can.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole thing was that the quarantine.
I just got a fucking ticket the other day.
Who did?
Me.
You got a ticket?
Yeah.
For
motherfuckers.
Damn. It's one of those touchy situations because this one isn't so much really on the police this time. It's more on the justice system, right? That these two guys who killed Ahmaud Arbery hadn't been arrested for 3 months after killing this man who, based on the story, didn't have any reason to kill this man, right? But today they finally got arrested. It doesn't mean they were found guilty. They just got picked up for the crime, right? Now they're going to go through the whole trial.
Where did this happen? You said Georgia?
This is in Georgia. But I mean, Amanda, if I missed out on some details, I know.
No, I mean, that's
a quick synopsis.
That's kind of pretty much what I know too. I think I saw it on social media today, and I think I just saw it on the news yesterday or the day before. They were talking about it earlier this week. They've been talking about it. I mean, that's why a lot of people are upset because, like, why does it take 2 months to arrest somebody?
It should be known that this happened in Georgia. It was two white Caucasian males, a father and his son, who shot down Ahmaud Arbery, an African American young man, 23, 24,
they were
25, I think.
They were in
apparently they were just kind of like following him because they had suspicions, or they
were just citizens.
They were just citizens.
They were trying. They said they were trying to make a citizenship arrest. A citizen arrest.
That's what they were trying to do. They weren't like any. They didn't have any part of the robbery or anything, right? They were just two normal guys.
They saw him jogging and they felt, they lived in the neighborhood.
No, because you said
the
robbery
thing
had happened
these two guys
before.
are claiming that there had been a string of robberies happening in their neighborhood, and that apparently they saw Ahmaud Arbery the night before. They can't confirm where they were saying. They just saw an African American the night before walking around the streets and all that late at night. So the next day they were following this guy who was jogging, Ahmaud Arbery, and they said they saw his hands in his pockets. He was wearing street clothes, right? He wasn't wearing jogging clothes. He was wearing khaki shorts and a shirt, and he had his hands in his pocket, apparently. So they said they thought he committed another robbery, right? That was their justification for it. So they started claiming they were going to make a citizen arrest on this kid. They started following him in their white pickup truck, and then he starts jogging and running, right? I mean, and they're following him, right? And the guy's claiming he's jogging. And they finally go and confront him. One thing leads to another, and these guys end up shooting him 3 times, or their gun fires 3 times.
With a shotgun.
Yeah, shotgun. He's dead now.
My thing, and this is a touchy subject, right?
And I was just trying to be unbiased with my telling of the events. I'm not trying to...
and it pisses me off, man. It really does. Like, I didn't hear about it till a little while ago, to be honest with you, but... what pisses me off the most is obviously the guy is dead, right? And I don't give a fuck if they come to find out that it was him that was robbing stuff, breaking into homes or whatever. My thing is fucking people need to quit acting like they're the law and going and trying to follow and play detective and
play
try
cowboy.
to catch people. And then they feel like, they're empowered to act like cops. Like, motherfuckers, stay home. And if you feel this guy is truly the guy, call the goddamn cops. It's okay, follow him until the cops get there, but don't try to take the law into your own hands. You ain't fucking Batman. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's my thing, that a lot of these people feel like they're superheroes and feel that they're doing the right thing, and then they take it too far. So, yeah, I mean, if they truly killed this guy, especially... if they just profiled him and it wasn't him that was having these break-ins, I think they need to spend the rest of their life in jail.
And like you said, I mean, there's no evidence yet that he did commit the robberies or he didn't. But like you said, even if he did,
even if they come out a month or 2 from now and find out that this guy was truly the guy that was breaking into people's homes, I don't give a fuck. That's like me having someone break into my neighbor's home. I see him the next day and go and pull a gun out on them. Like, why is that?
And that's what I'm going to say. That's
going to piss me off. Someone broke into my neighbor's home, but I'm not going to act like some superhero and go try to catch this guy, right? That's what we have police for. That's why you call people. My thing is just, it happens way too many times. Even here in Houston, the one that pissed me off, I think it was last year, when some Hispanic dude came out of a Denny's and went to go piss on the side of the building. Yeah. And some white cop and his wife, off-duty cop, chokes the guy out and kills him. For what? Yeah. Like, it pissed you off that bad? The dude was pissing on the side of the building, dude? Yeah. Call the cops if it's pissing you off that bad. Yeah. You don't choke him out and you kill him. I don't ever know what happened with that. I know that he was on trial. I hope that motherfucker spends the rest of his life in jail. Yeah, he killed him. He killed the Hispanic dude.
It's too much.
Why, bro?
Too much.
Why? Who the fuck are you to,
How do you kill him? You just choked him out?
He choked him and
was that guy drunk or something?
I don't know. No, he was getting there. I don't know if he was, which would make it worse. Yeah. But he was an off-duty cop, and they feel that they have all this power, that they can do whatever the fuck they want, question who they want. And a lot of times what pisses me off with the, justice system is that because they are officers, a lot of times they get away with shit. And to me, that's bullshit, man.
Yeah. And it, like you were saying, it kind of pisses you off, and it does to me too. And it's more depressing, disappointing, heartbreaking. Like, really, man, this happened. A guy's dead now, right? Assuming, and I don't even want to get into the whole robbery thing. It's like, even if he did, like you said, assuming he did commit those robberies, he's dead now, right? The robberies, had he gone through the justice system, the legal system, he probably would have got arrested if they convicted him for those robberies. He wouldn't be dead, though, man. And he definitely wouldn't have spent life in prison for those, It's one thing if somebody's coming on your property, like you said, and he's trying to rob you, then you have your gun, self-defense, something. But for you to go, like you said, play Batman, take the justice system in your hands, and that's what's so scary, because this isn't just like a isolated incident. We're seeing this happen all over. You're seeing people who believe that they're in their rights doing these things. It's not like these guys are like, we're going to be assholes today and just do what we want. It's like, no, they feel the Constitution, really that the American government is behind them, that they're doing they're providing a civic duty by doing these things. It's like, no, you're not, man. You're trying to do. You think you're a radical patriot is kind of what you are, right? Because they consider themselves patriots, abiding by the Constitution. They know the Constitution up and down, right? The Bill of Rights, whatever the fuck that is.
That's my thing. But
it's like, no, man, you're going about it all wrong.
That's the thing, and you said it right. The biggest thing is, one, quit playing fucking dress up and Batman and Robin and shit, right? That shit needs to stop. Yeah. But two, like you said, even if this guy was doing it and he did get caught and these guys helped put him in jail, they're not going to kill his ass in jail. They're not going to give him they're not going to give him death by lethal injection or life in prison. Yeah. So why do you feel, if the judicial system that you're so-called trying to help, right, is not going to do that. Why do you feel that it's in your power to do that and take somebody's life? Like, who the fuck are you?
And just the fact that, exactly. And even then, it just shows how much these people were out of their depth. I mean, you're chasing a dude around, like you said, even if he was convicted of these robberies, he's not going to get, for sure, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a cop, or I don't know the justice system that would say how many years in jail or what the penalty, the penal system would be for committing these robberies. He's not going to get killed for it, for sure, right? And you guys are running around, waving your guns around. It's like, if you really believe in the Constitution that well, you would have known that, hey, man, if he's committing these robberies, killing him is not a just punishment for that, right? It just shows how much you're out of your depth, because you end up shooting the guy, right? And, like, how do you believe you're in your right when even if he was taken to court, like I'm saying, that wouldn't have been...
Like, that crime doesn't fit the punishment.
Yeah, exactly.
That punishment doesn't fit the crime.
Like, that's how much you guys are out here. Now, you're trying to play cop.
It's honestly, man...
The guy attacks you, because, I mean, I don't see the video. I think in the video, they're kind of wrestling for the shotgun. Rightfully so, right? Like, damn it, I'm not going to let you shoot my ass.
Who wouldn't attack? If
and then
you see two white guys or two guys, you're black.
It's like,
you see two white guys.
Idiots, these guys, these two white guys, right?
With guns?
American Caucasians, whatever. With guns. It's like, now you see what you did? You went and escalated a situation that you were definitely not prepared for.
Yeah.
Because you ended up killing this guy. You weren't trained for it.
Yeah.
You don't know how to handle the situation. And now a person is dead because of it. And it's just... It's one of those, like you said, Mike. This is
but I mean, it's just the underlying issue.
These guys get a kick of flashing their guns around, and hopefully they get attacked, because they know most of the time these guys are going to be unarmed, and they're looking for that.
That's the thing. They're either very malicious and evil people, or they're fucking dumb as shit and don't know and shouldn't even probably be
both. But
it's a little bit of both, right? Like I said, it's that radical patriotic.
I am
system,
judging and stuff, and I am, I don't know.
You have to in this situation. This was
you can't tell
right
me
and
that
wrong.
These guys aren't racist, bro.
What's that?
You look at their pictures, and I can kind of see.
And that's what the overlying theme, I guess, of this whole situation.
And I always hate to play the race
issue.
card and stuff, but hey, man, let's call it what it is, right? Why did y'all chase that guy? If he was white, even in street clothes, but khaki shorts and a button-up, you probably would think twice. Now this guy's not breaking into homes, because he's an African American. And you guys get a kick out of running around with their guns and hoping that you find some type of confrontation to where you can use
They're looking for it, man. They're searching it out.
And that just goes to what Matthew was saying, the overlying issues. Like, they are way too comfortable being able to do this stuff. Why do they think... They don't think twice, probably, about going out and doing this. Because why? Because exactly the reason. It takes 2-3 months to catch guys like this. They know. And I think it's just by chance that somebody was recording them that this made such a big deal,
when I read that video, it was like that guy that recorded was with them in pursuit of that guy. Yeah. But even him, he was like, "Fuck that."
Well, now you heard what he said.
He's kind of
lagging behind.
It got real. It got real. Right now, you're saying we're playing
now
superheroes.
You're like, yeah, man, let's follow this guy.
We
but
killed
now
a
it's
guy.
like, damn, this motherfucker got off with the shotgun.
And if you read his comments on the articles, he's like, "I'm only recording." So there's. I think the quote was like, "Transparency" is the word he used.
Yeah.
So now he's copping out, right?
Covering his ass.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I did it so we can know exactly what happened.
I am associated with this, but I've got proof that I didn't go get involved in nothing.
And I didn't stop it just because I knew it was going to be a big situation. I just want transparency, man. And I don't know. Who knows?
I tried to do the right thing.
And that's the problem now, man. Like, because now justice needs to be served on these two guys, right? Like you said, we're no one to judge.
It won't. It's going to keep happening.
Well, see, but that's the good thing, though, because everybody's saying now, because of all the social media attention, and God, thank goodness for the video and all that. And there's that meme, not meme.
But you see this all the time, like Ferguson and all these things. I mean, who was that guy when he said hands in his pocket automatically? Brought me back to that one guy when this first thing started happening. Who was that guy? Trayvon Martin, yeah. Whatever.
And that's
nothing
what I'm
happened. What happened to those guys, man? I mean, it's social media.
Guy,
it's gonna die down like in a month or two.
He didn't get caught.
He didn't go to jail or nothing. I don't think.
But what I'm saying, everybody's like hyping up and like, yeah, we're talking about it right now. But what is that really doing for the family?
You got to bring light to the attention.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That it happens all the time. It's a big thing, and then it dies down, and then these.
And that's probably the fault of the citizens of social media.
In 2 years, they're in their house.
People living normal. And people are gonna, and unfortunately, it is.
And it's an endless cycle.
There's a lot more than just white and black into it, right? It's racism and race plays a
bigotry,
part,
elitism, right?
Into
I would say racism
just,
has a big thing.
Bias of people like, oh well, yeah, he probably was breaking into homes. We don't know, all the chips are not on the table. My thing is like, put yourself in each person's shoes, right? Put yourself, whatever race you are, put yourself in the family shoes, because the dad's been interviewed, right? You know, the dad of the guy that was killed, and you know how he misses him and was a good person. So you put yourself in those shoes. If it was your son, your brother, and someone's fucking, especially if he didn't commit these crimes, that just takes it to a whole nother level. But even if he did, you're not going to approve that your brother's breaking into houses, your son's breaking into houses. Of course not. But for some other human being to take it upon themselves to kill him is just fucked up. Yeah. And there's nobody in this world that's going to tell me that they won't feel that way. Because there's some people that are bullshitting and will say, well, yeah, if my son did that, then he deserved to get killed? Who's going to say that? And if you are, you're a fucking idiot. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not thinking right. Yeah. But, you know, just kind of that, man. It's just, it pisses me off, because what pisses me off is, yeah, obviously that this guy lost his life, and especially for probably bullshit, right? But what pisses me off more is that, like Jonathan said, they'll probably end up getting away with it, you know, and they'll claim some bullshit that it was self-defense, whatever, and the guy attacked them, and, you know, they're going to leave out the part that, well, you had a shotgun in your hands pointing at him. Yeah, of course he attacked you. Yeah. You know?
And I said these guys that did it, or I said either you're really malicious and evil or you're dumb as fuck. And I still believe that, but dumb as fuck as far as like morality, big picture stuff. Yeah. Because these guys cover their tracks, man. They caught the cops on the way, right? They're telling, hey, we're tracking down this guy. He's running from us. We're trying to make they make sure they're going about it, right? So I'm not saying these guys are just like evil, like, hey, I see a black, I'm gonna shoot him.
That's what I want to hear. It's so like encoded, I believe. Cops told them during that pursuit.
They asked, hey, what street are you? It's just like chaotic, you know, because it's like, what?
Like, you know? You tell them, okay, well,
don't pursue.
Don't fucking get off. Yeah. You know, it's the number one thing. Don't get off. You know, why put yourself in that danger? Keep following them. Yeah. Whatever. You know, let the cops get there.
Yeah. And then you ask these guys, and then you should ask these guys, like, hey, man, I want to see somebody ask them, one, like, was it worth it, bro? Like, was all this worth what you were trying to do?
Or
what was your reason?
Asking them, because they're going to give you the bullcrap. Yeah, it was. I was serving.
But
the
you
American
need to ask
justice.
them that, because it's going to help people understand the mindset of these people who keep committing these crimes.
Most of America thinks,
which is what I was going to ask.
I don't know, dude. You can't really say that.
I know that the government thinks that way. If they didn't, then all these cops who were doing what they were doing, like, this happened.
Oh yeah, that's what's going on Instagram, right? It's saying, you know, they didn't get arrested because the police.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's making a big thing. The justice system saw the video. They're getting arrested because we citizens saw the video, and we're hyping it up. You're forcing their hand, you know. Yeah, and we gotta be a little more smart and careful not to make huge generalizations from these kind of things, right? You can't condemn a whole people, but like you said, any system, it's like Dad always says, right? I don't care what you're talking about. That's if you're correct. Talking about the U.S. government, the Catholic Church, all these human systems that we have in place, right? Whether it's governments, religion, there's corruption everywhere.
There's corruption everywhere, man.
But there's more.
So there's definitely huge holes
in some
there.
Places.
What's that?
There's more corruption in some places than other. I agree. Everybody's corrupt. And
even if but we live here in the USA, right? So we're looking more on this kind, right? There's corruption going on, all this stuff going on in Venezuela, Latin America countries, the Middle East, but we live here, so it affects us more here, right? We see this every day. And you just gotta...
Well, I'm just talking about, you know, just the at least, you know, because we can kind of go off in all kind of different tangents and stuff. I'm talking about for this particular scenario, right?
And that's what we
because I can kind of relate, because I go out for either, whether it be a jog or a walk, I go out sometimes after 10:30, right? It's dark as hell. No one else is walking out here in my neighborhood. For someone to just be slowly following me, and then I can just get in off with the gun, like, hey, fucking stop right there. You know, we know you fit the profile of someone's been breaking into houses. Worst crimes I've done is traffic tickets. Like, no, couldn't be further from the truth. Mm-hmm. Then they come and approach me with the gun. I try to defend myself, and they end up killing me. For what? Because I went for a jog. It's my fault because I was out at a late time.
No, and I'm not saying that at all.
That's why it pisses me off.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. We can go on, and the more I talk about it, the more it pisses me off.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, it does hits a nerve, because you're not just seeing it in just, you know, civil society, you know, and you're seeing, well, now you're seeing people getting shot down in streets, essentially, is what it's happened. That's exactly what happened.
This happened
right?
During, like, midday, though, right?
Yeah, the sun is shining, you know, midday afternoon, guy got shot down.
My thing is, like, you know, not that I am, you know, I don't really go. It does piss me off, and I think we see it. At least I see it. I'm speaking for myself. But, you know, a lot of people say, don't make it about a race thing, black and white. You kind of have to, right? Because I don't really hear in the news that this white white person followed another white male and killed them because they thought he was breaking into homes. Not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying it doesn't come out in the news. I never hear about that. That scenario is never played in my mind, right?
Yeah. And for me, and it is a race issue because that's what it comes down to, right? Racism is a real thing. People didn't just, it's not a fucking word. We just invented no, it means something, right? It has weight, that word. But even more than that, not more than that, but it's an issue of right versus wrong, man, you know? Like, you were not in the right for doing what you did.
That was going to be
that's what
my question. Oh, well, I was just going to say, because I was thinking about these guys, right? And like you said, their mindset, to them, they probably think they are right, you know? And of course, we know they're wrong, right? And of course, society's going to be, oh, no, they're wrong. We know that. But can you truly blame them when that's how they were raised, you know?
When they really believe that they were in the right.
They were right,
yeah,
you know? And it kind of makes
me
me wonder what it's like to be raised that way. You know, like, come on, what are your parents telling you, you know, that you think that's okay?
This mental... And like you said, I don't even know if they would consider themselves racist, because I'm sure in their defense they're probably going to say, no, we have black friends, you know. I mean, it could have been anybody we would have done it. Maybe that's
like,
true.
Or like, not even them, but just for example, like white supremacists. And you're just so blind to it, you know, it's so encoded in your DNA. And I'm not saying they were racist. I mean, from what, come on, like, we're looking at the news and what profiling and everything, but we don't know for sure, right? But I'm talking about people who are flat out, I'm a white supremacist, because we know there's those type of people out there that are like, yes, I'm racist and I want you to know it. Like, what do you think they grow up believing, you know? Like, what, at some point you would think, like, you're part of society. Do you never get the hint that the way you think is wrong? Like, how do they grow up, make it that far in life, like, thinking that they're right, you know, that their beliefs are moral?
Well, I think if you ask them, and I'm not sure, I don't want to. I really don't want to get in the mind of a racist, white supremacist person. Yeah. But I think if you were to ask them, they would say, well, just like you get along with everybody else, you're a Catholic, you know, you have Muslim friends, you know, you don't believe that's right, but you're still able to go about your life without killing them, you know? I could believe myself to be racist, but I don't believe killing someone's right, you know? So I think that's a lot of those people, that's their cop-out, right? Like, I can still be a moral person, but have my inclinations, my beliefs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the problem with that is, like, hey, man, believe whatever you want to, you know? Keep doing what you're doing. It's just that mindset isn't going to translate to everybody, and you're passing that mindset along, you're enabling it, and that mindset leads to situations like we saw. Now a guy's dead, right? A family lost their son, brother, to, you know, mother and father without a child tonight, one of their own, you know, and it's because, and I wouldn't say it's solely that, you know, reason. We're calling it a race issue because you look at the backdrop, right? It's in Georgia. And I don't have the numbers, and that's what I hate sometimes, because you do need the facts to kind of support you. But in our case, we're just talking conjecture here, opinion.
Yeah.
We know southern states, and it's all over the country, but southern states are more prone to racism, right? I mean, it goes all the way back to the Civil War, right? Southern states wanted to keep the slaves, and northern states didn't, right? And that wasn't, it was a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago in the hindsight of history, right? It was like 150 years ago that all this stuff happened, more or less, right? So you have people with that kind of mindset, and then you look on the video, you see that they have this southern drawl, the two white guys, right? That southern accent, that
country
with that, and I don't want to stereotype.
Yeah, but I mean,
you're being racist. Yeah, redneck, you know, hick kind of accent, whatever, right? And then you see the neighborhood they're at, and you're like, okay, that looks like hillbilly country a little bit, you know, and it puts in our mind right away, like, yeah, of course that was a race issue, man. Look where you guys were, you know.
Like context clues, but too, yeah.
And then, but that kind of goes against us on the flip side. There, people are going to tell you, well, look at the racial implications you're making. You know?
But it goes back to you know, a big portion of it is like what you are saying too as well. You know, aside from race, it's ignorance, right? I mean, you're not going to ever see some executive from an oil and gas industry or just some executive that's fucking working downtown going and chasing this guy because he thinks he broke into his neighbor's house or whatever. You're just not, you know, and because they have more common sense, I guess.
More common sense, and they could be racist. Hussein, right? Just because, but they have more to lose as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to risk my good job to go chase down someone I don't even know.
Like, I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't care, you know? It's kind of one of those things. But like you said, it's common sense, too. You know, rarely are you going to see somebody do that, you know, huge executive now.
I mean, I don't know what these guys get a kick out of, like, oh, I'm going to do it. And they probably think they're going to show back up to their neighborhood to, like, stand in ovation, which they probably did.
These guys see too many Die Hard movies,
out
man.
there with banners, like, heroes and shit. And
And that's the scary part too, because they definitely, they have a supporting as well. They have people who are backing them up right now.
So everybody that
and it's ignorance. It's like you said, it's ignorance
on that street that supported them. Fuck all of y'all.
And that's the thing, man. I mean, because it's obviously an issue. I don't think anybody's going to deny that. Even if you're on the racist side of it, it's an issue because there's a conflict, right? There's people who believe it's wrong, and there's people who believe that it's not wrong, right?
Yeah.
Racism.
There's
and
two
all
sides
that. Right? There's
to
two
it.
sides to it. So it's kind of like, man, how do you support it, especially when you're on the losing side, the one who's trying to fight this to get people to change their mind, the people who are being attacked in these situations, right?
Yeah.
If you're a racist and you're attacking somebody because of the race, you're the victim, right? The victims in this, it's like, yeah, it's a problem, but how do we go about solving it? How does this stop? How can it? And maybe it never will,
So that was going to be my
but that's because you said, fuck
my
all
next
y'all, you know what I
question.
mean? And that's what you want to say, but then you got to look big picture, and it's like, man, is that really?
That's what I was going to
It's gonna
say.
help.
This whole
That was going to be
social
my
media
next
thing,
question. Like,
because people
Oh, go
are
ahead.
Would y'all rather me say fuck all of y'all, or go over there and hunt them all down with my guns?
don't
Don't
I
do
want
that.
to do that, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
but going on
there's
a
some
more
people who are putting,
Wanting to do
getting
that,
pressure
yeah.
to do that, because at a certain point, it's either, all right, man, are we going to do this whole, Gandhi, Martin Luther King peaceful rallies? It ain't
But you
working.
feel like you're
It's
not
still
getting
happening.
heard,
At a
so
certain
you're like,
point, it's going to be, damn, man, fuck that. Ain't gonna, if it happens to you, especially these people, now when it hits home, you're going to be, fuck this. I saw what happened last time. I'm going to go gun you down,
And speaking
that's
of-
how it comes on. It's a war now, man.
when
That's
it
how
hits
happens.
home, and I mean, not to take away from this situation at all. I mean, of course, we know the whole history of our country, especially recently, like you said, the past 150 years with slavery and, racism and civil rights. But I think it's even, people don't realize, and again, I'm not trying to take away from the situation here, but us being Hispanic, how much harder I think it is to be Hispanic, because I think right now, don't get me wrong, I totally agree that things are very unfair for colored people. And colored people being us too, I would consider
right?
minorities,
Yeah.
But I feel like at least people are shedding light on them, like we're agreeing, like a majority, I don't know about majority, but a big part of the country is agreeing that, hey, yeah, there's a lot of injustice going on for them.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought to myself today,
And being African American.
what if he was Hispanic? Would so many people be fighting like justice for, I don't know, I don't want to throw out a Hispanic name and sound racist
And
right now, but
honestly,
They wouldn't.
Hispanics, we've people are gonna be because maybe I am being biased, but I feel like we are stuck in the middle, right? Because the white people fully don't want us, and even the African American people fully don't claim us, right? We're like
we're just
we're
in
like
the middle.
the strawberry of the
We're
Neapolitan
like the redheaded
ice cream,
stepchild.
right? We're like that strawberry, the Neapolitan ice cream growing
Yeah.
up.
You don't like the strawberry?
Nah, like all the chocolate and vanilla's gone, and it's just strawberry there, and they throw that shit away. Nobody wants it. But I feel like we're that, like, we get hated on a lot.
And I don't know if it's so
from
much
the president down.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's so much hated on by we're talking about
I just
citizens.
feel like we get
I think it's obvious that there's obviously corruption in the government, right? And the government, right? That's a big vague term. What the fuck do you mean by government? The judicial system, the legal system, the penal system. From the president all the way down to your fucking local mayor, there's corruption, right? But I think what we're talking more about is as citizens, as who coexist with each other, like you were saying, the Caucasians, the African Americans, the Hispanics. You brought up the question: if they were Hispanic, would it
not
be
just Hispanics, Asians?
but
Asians.
I think I think the
Yeah.
reason for that though, is that we all, there's so many Mexicans and, like you said, Asians and just different race ethnicities that live here in the U.S.
right?
Huh?
Indian, Middle Eastern.
Everything, right? The whole spectrum. But in a way, and I don't know if this is going to come out right, it's like we still have a place to go if we were kicked out of this country, right? I know there's a lot of Mexican Americans, Tex-Mex, Chicanos, whatever, that were born and raised here, generations here, right? But Mexicans, it's almost like, hey, you still got Mexico, right? You're living in the U.S., but you still have the backup support of all of Mexico, right? You have some connections to it still. Asians, right? Wherever you're from, Vietnam, Thailand, Korea, South China, whatever. It's like you still have that connection home. for African Americans, it's like, this is our home, you know? Don't say Africa, right? Because I've been living here for 400 years already. Our family gets back here. We made up this country, right? We were here before it was the United States of America, right? When they got brought over and, you know, slaves, and then they weren't all slaves, right? There was actual African American citizens who are living here. So for them, it's like, my back's to the wall because this is my home, you know? It's like, we got to fight for it here because this is happening to homegrown citizens, you know?
Right.
And I think that's why it's more of a... I think that's why you see, like, the Caucasians and the whites and the Africans, it's kind of that going against, because it's for them, it's like, this is our home court, you know?
It's kind of like, they're battling for home
they're
court.
probably like, you're Mexicans here and all that, but you still got a whole country full of your own people, not just for Mexicans, but the majority of it, 95, I don't know the number, is all for Mexicans. You know, you have China. Everybody who lives there is, for the majority, Chinese. You have North Korea, South Korea. Majority of people who live there are Koreans. Like, it's like, no, man. Like, this is our home, right? Like, I can't go to Africa because those are Africans, right? I'm an American, right? So I think that's why it's more that clash between Caucasians and I don't know if I'm saying that, Caucasians, right? Caucasians and African Americans, right?
No, but I think all
white people, black and white, because those are the two, you know, this is their turf, right?
But I mean, I agree. But you have to understand that for a lot of people, a lot of these Asians,
oh no, for sure,
Hispanics, this is their home too. You know, their generations have been here for a long time. So
you see a lot of these Mexican Americans too. I mean, we're one of them. We were born and raised here. It would take a huge learning curve for me to go live anywhere else but the United States, right? Even if I were to go to Mexico, I always say how much I love it. Going over there, it'd be a huge reality check, you know? It'd have to be a huge adjustment. And I'm not too sure I'd be able to make it right now, you know, as I, am currently. Yeah. But these other people, it's like, not these other people, these other citizens, right? They're here, they got really nowhere else to go. You know what I mean? Well, I'm not going to go to Mexico if I'm a white person or a black person, right? I'm not going to go to China, you know? Like, that's not my people. You know, my heritage is here, you know? Your heritage is somewhere else. Now, maybe in another 200 years ago, and you have generations pass on, then maybe you could start kind of talking like, if we're Mexican Americans, we've been here for 400 years, you know? Mexico's not my home, but we do it, you know? I mean, we and us have it. We're born here in Mexico, U.S., but we have that tie to Mexico.
That tie. It could be a billion years and it's still we're Mexican, right? And I think that's what Mandy's kind of hinting to, that's unfair. Like, don't tell us that this is our country then. Like, just suck and say you're Mexicans, Asians, you're renting space
guests
for now. You're benefiting us because you're doing a lot of the work, but this is rental space. This is your fucking Airbnb. And then
I'm not saying I agree with that.
Tired of y'all shit, y'all gotta go. You know, same thing. If Africa was in where Canada or Mexico is now, they'd be the same thing, you know, and they're not going to say, okay, we'll just go back to our country. Like, it's not about that, right? It's about, let's be fair. You know, we're not here illegally, you know, and our mom and, you know, her parents and their parents, you know, it's like at least 4 generations have been here in the U.S., born and raised, and, you know, why should we be pushed aside? And then not that we are, but, you know, we see a lot of people that are, and I think that's what Mandy was just getting at, you know, but I think, Jonathan, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, this whole thing, man, whatever his name was, what was his name? The one that got shot?
Ahmaud Arbery.
It's one thing to talk about it like we are right now, but things aren't going to start changing until people who are on social media posting it, like the 2.2 miles. What good is that going to do, honestly? I ran 2.2 miles for Ahmaud.
Whatever. Social awareness.
No, I know, but I'm just saying in general, it's never going to change until people actually actively start going against and standing up for the rights, man.
Unfortunately, it's not gonna change until that particular race stands up for a change against their own race, right?
Which we don't. I mean, we were talking about
people stand up and say, you know, this
you guys are
type
wrong,
of people are wrong. Y'all wrong in what y'all doing, and they start their own wave of protest and, you know, calling out injustice and stuff. That's when you're going to start to see a change. I don't see it happening, to your point, anytime soon. So it's just going to get, and I think we've seen it, it's trickling and getting worse, right?
Honestly, I don't believe it.
With everything, as time goes on, it's going to get worse.
Humans are just their own fucking worst enemy.
Like you said, people have free will, man. People are going to believe whatever they want to believe. They're going to do whatever they want to do.
We're too deep.
If these people go to jail, it's just going to light more fire under their ass, and they're going to get more upset about it, and they're going to say, you know what, they're not going to stop us. The next time we're going to do it to two people.
And
it's just
and I think
to have solved this problem, and you had from the very beginning with any problem, right? It's putting your foot down. It's like a bully, man. You let him take your lunch money the first day. Next week, he's asking for double. So we're too deep in the system to change it now.
Yeah, that's what I think.
To change it, it's going to need like some drastic another civil war or something like that.
They need to bring back
because that's what you're looking at to cause real change on that.
Yeah, you would need something drastic like that.
And
you need to implement a system where it's so clear.
But you can't change the system.
We're talking here.
You can't change the system because the people who are leading it
it's a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle.
The ones who kind of have the same beliefs of those guys that shot him, I mean, unfortunately, that's the truth. We know.
That's the problem, right? How do you go about changing the mindset of these races, these bigots, these elitists, these white supremacists? And it's on both sides, right? And like Jonathan said, honestly, me personally, I don't think you can. People have free will; they're going to believe whatever they want. But if you really want to, I guess my 2 cents would be you have to implement some sort of system where it's clear as day, where you're able to know who these racist people are, and you gotta punish them, you gotta isolate them, shun them, or something, right? Until that mindset gets eradicated from the system. That, and then on the flip side, for us, the minorities, the African American blacks who are getting these injustices, the best thing I could suggest to them is education, right? Educate yourself. And I'm not saying that's going to change it, right? It's not going to change them. They're going to hate it. But at least when you start educating yourself, you start opening your mind to these injustices. And then you start thinking, when you all start thinking, educating yourselves, I don't know the solution. Maybe you guys will come up with the solution.
And who educate themselves? I guess I'm confused.
Minorities. Yeah, minorities and people in general. And then on the both side, flip side.
The word racism.
Because you said it. The biggest thing, a lot of it, is ignorance, dude.
I was mainly ignorance on the people committing these crimes.
That's what I'm saying. Them educate themselves too, because a lot of these people aren't thinking straight. It's like, man, go live life and go grow up and live in the real world and see how much you're going to rely on your neighbor, regardless if he's black or white or Mexican.
Fix, right? I mean, you go tell.
I'm not saying it's going to fix anything. I'm saying that would be my suggestion.
You tell the family of this guy that got murdered, hey, maybe y'all should have, he should have educated him.
And not for him. I'm not saying being educated is going to prevent a situation like that. I'm saying for the people that are trying to do a revolution of this thing. The best thing they can do is educate themselves to overtake them. I'm not saying if you educate yourself that it's going to stop you from being racially profiled or
you can
stop
argue
a tragedy like this.
It's just really
better chances of a revolution.
You're going to piss them off, whatever. But that's my point. If you're going to start a revolution, it has to have legs. It has to be able to stand on its own. And that's what I'm trying to say. Is if you're going to go against these racists and these bigots and these elitists and these white supremacists, you got to bring your A game, especially if you're wanting to win. It's one thing to just cry and yell, but if you're actually going for change, it's purpose, patient, and a plan and a system and education.
And to that, I think consistency is really important because, for example, and I mean, we're talking about racism or just race in general. So, I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there, like, for example, we were talking about him, he was a black guy. When Barack Obama ran for president, he won presidency. Why? And people will tell you, because there was a huge spike in African American votes. I think it was the most that race has ever voted. And for example, last election, Hillary Clinton versus Trump. I mean, come on, we know what Trump stands for a lot of people in this country, And I'm not saying you had to love Hillary Clinton, but you are looking, I think, at right and wrong. And I'm not saying Hillary Clinton was the best choice or anything, but it came to kind of that to me, a guy who is obviously promoting racism. And even if he didn't intend to, that's how his followers were taking it. And they were going with that. So you had an option of like kind of right and wrong. And a lot of people just let her, fail, like they let him.
People don't
it's like Michael said, we're our own worst enemies, right?
But that's what I mean. Like we can't be like, oh, we're all for right, and then it doesn't really pertain to us, like how are we ever gonna?
But in a few weeks, it's gonna be over with. Like most of us won't care about
Bernie Sanders. Like I mean, we wanted him to be, or I was going, but I didn't go vote for him.
Yeah.
People aren't doing their
duty, right?
But I'll be honest with you, man. I don't. That's why I hate talking politics. Because I'm not the guy who's going to come and, like, be supporting and talk about Ahmaud, whatever. Yeah, it sucks what happened.
And I'm not saying, but
at the end of the day, I know I'm not really going to do anything to fight the cause or fight against,
Until it hits home.
because it sucks that happened, and if it's never gonna. We can talk about it all day we want, but it's never gonna hit home until it happens to us, right? Hits
But
home.
I think, and I agree with you. I mean, I'm gonna go, God willing, I'm gonna go home tonight.
Because
probably won't
now
think
that
too much more about
now
this
that you
event.
know, I mean, you said F all those guys. Yeah, we can say F you. What is that doing?
But we really don't care, right?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Gonna say,
But I mean, that's
people are
can go
gonna
to
say that
anything,
we're
though.
enabling,
No,
right?
but
that our mindset.
We want change to happen, right? It sucks that this guy died.
Well,
right?
then
'Cause
we
of the
really don't
system.
want change to happen. We probably really
No,
don't
that's
care.
what I'm
That's what
saying.
we're
That's why
saying
I
right
really
now,
don't-
right?
that's why
If
I
we can
don't
go
talk-
home
like
tonight, I don't
talking
care.
about
So
it.
yeah, man, I really don't care for it.
I think
honestly.
what
Yeah,
But if
Jonathan's
it
saying
happened
is
to
that-
Mike or if it happened to me or happened to Mandy, right?
then we would
you would
care.
want change.
Yeah. And then you'd be telling everybody,
That's what
"Hey,
I'm
man,
saying.
look what they did to my
Yeah,
brother."
I think that's what's important, because I think this 2 point whatever. Yeah, well, obviously it's not going to bring the guy back. One and two, that's not necessarily what's going to put these people behind bars. But I think for the family, it's helping them out, because it's showing, whether it's phony or just for social media or whatever, there's a big outpour of wanting justice, right? There's this big following that they have that they feel now they're on our side. As opposed to our family of 20 people that were upset fighting for it. Now we have thousands upon thousands of people here in the U.S. that, even if it's just social media, we feel have our back, right? And hopefully it leads to something for good. It may not, and it's definitely not going to change anything going forward, because unfortunately, this isn't the last time that an incident like this is going to happen, right? And I get it, but I think, like y'all said, if it hits home, I think y'all would appreciate having an outpouring of support for something if it was us, right? So I think it is meaningful.
It's like Mandy said.
Is it gonna
It's the
change
lack of
high level?
consistency. It's the
No.
lack of people being on the same page. It's a lack of passion from the majority, right?
And I think that's the effects kind of social media too. It's a good thing, because obviously I wouldn't have been aware really of it had it not been for social media. It does put it out there, but then I think it kind of makes us lazy, because we think just by being on social media we're doing something. Yeah, we're making more people aware, but what are we really doing? Imagine if like Martin Luther King and them just were all like on Twitter like typing, what would have gotten done?
Jonathan said, you do that 2.23 miles. Yeah, you might feel good about yourself because I did it. I ran. It's a publicity thing, right? You're supposed to spread the message. That's the point.
I guarantee.
And people have good intent,
those
good
actual 2 miles aren't going to really do anything.
Yeah.
We're doing it, so you do it. You should take a picture and spread it, and the
You're
news
spreading
spreads,
awareness,
right?
yeah.
But like you said, it's easy to let that not really hit home and take effect, right? Because you see it social media, it's real quick, it's fast. You don't really have to put too much thought into it, because it's right there at your
and
fingertips.
you feel
And like Jonathan
accomplished.
said, in a
You feel like
week,
you did
you
something.
forgot about it, right? Because now there's something else on social media.
That's why I guarantee, like in a month or two, this thing's gonna trickle down. You'll probably find out a year from now, like that Trayvon Martin. I bet you we look up the guy who actually killed him, or that guy who we saw a video of it when he's actually choking that African American guy, and he's like, I can't breathe. I bet you that cop's off the hook right now, man. What is he doing right now?
I don't know.
Everybody at the time was making a big deal out of it. What really happened?
Yeah.
Did something change? I mean, we're talking about what happened
But
right
I think,
now.
I guess what the point is that
No,
making
it
a big
upsets me.
it sucks because you make a big deal, like you're saying, you don't follow up on it. But because you don't follow up doesn't mean you shouldn't make a big deal about it.
Right,
The
because
best
I
thing
would
to do
agree
now,
that
if you
by
do one
making a
better,
big
right,
deal
like,
right
well,
now,
big
we
deal
are
about
putting
it
pressure.
and follow up on it.
At
You know,
least for
that's
right
what we
now,
should
we're
do.
putting
That's what
pressure.
we should
We're just saying we're not going to
like-
follow up,
We're
right?
not. We're not.
In an ideal world, we would make a big deal out of it because
And
it
I
is
think,
rightfully
if
so,
nothing
and then
else,
follow up.
I mean, if nothing else, maybe it'll put a little bit more pressure on the judge. or
Right, I think
whoever.
at least that's what it's
half,
doing
it's
for
half
now.
the equation,
you know?
right?
And it might
This
put
outcry.
pressure, and now they have pressure of hundreds of thousands of people
Watching
in the US
and
making a
waiting,
big stink.
like
Might die off in a month. But at least for this time being, I mean, like people on social media are saying, oh, now because of this big following, now the video got leaked. Well, that's something, right? And hopefully that's something that can help that guy, his family, and his attorney in his case, and puts these people behind bars, you know.
At least puts a little fear in them, a little
something.
check.
Even if it's just one time that this comes out and justice comes out on top, hey, man, that's one more
One
than what they had
victory, you know?
before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's easy to say, man, don't do this 2.2 stuff, and what you're saying is like it's not worth fighting for.
No,
it's
all a good thing.
goes,
All
you
I'm
know.
trying to say is, at the end of the day, it's all good. Like you said, there's some benefit that's going to come, but when you look in the whole grand
Yeah.
scheme of things,
Yeah.
it's not really.
Yeah, it's going to
affecting
take a lot more than fucking hashtags.
the
and
root
stuff to
cause
fix
of
things.
what's wrong with society.
Like you said,
with-
man, hey, it's
with-
probably
what's
coming to
wrong.
that though pretty
That's
soon.
what I'm saying.
You're getting a pressure, you're building a pressure point where
Mm-hmm.
fuck, man, you're gonna have another fucking civil war coming up.
And
And that's when I'm going to Mexico.
That's when,
That's when we're going to Mexico.
Going back to my point, I got my fallback.
Yeah.
All right, I got my safety net. Mexico. But shit, we go to Mexico, they'll hate our ass there too.
I
man.
know.
There's
Like, what did Selena say, or Selena's
Don't
dad?
you dare quote that, man. 'Cause I hate
It's
that
hard
quote.
being Mexican American.
It's hard out here for a pimp. That's what I'm talking about. Nah, it is true.
No, but there's discrimination everywhere, man, and that's why I try to stay away from that kind of stuff.
And I think that's what upsets people more. Like it sucks when you're discriminating against your own. You know what I mean?
But it's
like the way
everywhere,
the African and
like,
blacks probably see it as like, man, we're citizens here. We came up at the same time in this country, and you're still going against us, right?
I've got some Italian coworkers that they came over here when they
were young.
But now they and they talk about it, and I'm sure every country has their good and bad, right? Because there's
north versus south, right?
There's certain parts of Italy that's like the black sheep of the family in Italy, right?
Italy,
and some they think they're the high class, and that's a low class. You don't go over there. That's like the hood of Houston over there. Like you don't go there. Fuck that. Yeah.
Like
same thing in even Mexico
King.
City. Like you don't go to certain areas because they just steal and rob and like.
It's the same thing with Mexico. The indigenous people, right? And not just in Mexico. That's just like a Central South American.
Not only that, but like
American
people from
thing.
like
that's just everywhere.
People from like
that's
Mexico City, right? Everyone else outside of Mexico City doesn't like Mexico City. Though they're fresas over there, And
different
they
parts,
don't really like it. They're like, fuck, they're like little queers over there. Like, we don't like going on. People from Mexico, Chilangos, they're
but even
weird.
even in Mexico, within that even country, you have a whole, discrimination against different type of people. You have light skin, right? And then you have dark, like the indigenous people.
Well, that's what we were talking about in one of my classes. That's everywhere, the whole dark skin, light skin.
They like putting barriers between people.
Well, it's just, I guess, it's a quality of human nature. People like putting themselves in clubs, like exclusive clubs, right? They want to feel united, and they want to feel special, right? Like they want to feel like they're have some sort of insight knowledge that everybody else doesn't want, right? We're tribal by nature. We want to get our little groups together, right? We don't want peace for all, everybody be on the same team. Even if you say that, you kind of want, like, hey, it's kind of me. I mean, it's just, you have your family, right? You say, we're all equal and social, but I love my family more than I love you. You do that in the family.
And with those kind of people, they
take it to an extreme.
They believe they're so special that people, like minorities, start believing that they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, like those people you say, like, they want to put themselves in clubs and cliques and all that. They believe it so much that they're above these people that the people who are equal to them feel inferior. Them. Like, we were talking about this, I don't know, a while back, right? About how there's racism in society and all that. Well, people can think they're superior to you all they want, but it takes you if you feel inferior to them, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of the times, African Americans, minorities, we feel inferior to the majority, right? And it's going to take for us to start accepting that
there's a reason why they are better than us, right? At a certain while, it's almost
it's like, hey,
and it's true, you do,
self-conscious, you're like,
you're better than me. I know that.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying.
That you wanted them to join it, right?
Like, let them think all that they want, man. As long as you don't think you're inferior to them, right?
And I guess there's various reasons for that.
Until we start thinking like the way, not that I'm saying I'm thinking, but it's gonna be the same thing, man. It's gonna be the same, and it's hard. It's hard.
Let's start a civil war tonight.
It's easier to, said than done to, cause for change.
I want y'all to be like inferior to me, like down.
But that's where it goes. People it's like, and it's weird a little bit.
What do you kiss the hand and all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just There are leaders. There are some people who are leaders, and there are some people who are just better followers, right hand man.
I wonder why, like, people in general have this need to be in power. I mean, we were talking about that,
but some people
like Napoleon, right? It often
Napoleon Dynamite.
No, Napoleon Dynamite. It's often these guys who, or these people who have a lot of like
said inferiorities.
Like, I mean, Napoleon, he was like he was a king, right, or something like that.
The France.
Yeah, how tall was that guy?
Like
5'4",
3'6".
Yeah,
3'6". And he had, like, you're saying these paintings of him, like this super.
No, I don't know.
I was like, no.
Like,
well, it's like the Romans, right? A lot of times that was their downfall because of some of them were good, leaders and stuff, and then some just wanted that power. Once they got a little bit of it, they wanted it all.
And there's a quote I forgot, maybe fact check or I don't know somebody, but there's a quote I forgot from one guy in England.
It
says
not to be.
To be.
That is
William Shakespeare. No, but he says power tends to corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I agree with that.
That's what I
people
said
in power.
Barbecue a couple weeks ago.
No, but people in power.
I don't think so.
Everything's
I think
corrupt.
the guy who said that was actually coming from the Civil War times.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
No. It was like in the 1800s or something in England. But I agree with that completely, man. You see it all the time. You have a good guy or a good woman in this case. when they let it get to their head, they start becoming
Well, it's
corrupt
like
and all that.
wait.
And I think that's what's wrong with the world in general, because it's just not United States. We were talking about Mexico, right? Mexico City, how there's discrimination and all that, racism within countries, right? It doesn't have to be racial discrimination. It can be cultural discrimination too, right?
And it's just it's
everywhere,
yeah.
and
Even in
it's
work,
such a
man.
big problem that to begin trying to solve it, it's just tiring. You're gonna need.
Where do you start?
You don't even. It's so interconnected with every other problem.
Racism just didn't pop up yesterday.
Because racism is a thing on its own, but it leads to other problems in the job force, in the workforce, problems at school, with education, with income, and it just it leads to a lot. To tackle that, you're gonna have to tackle a lot more problems, and
exactly. It's not
it's
just
kind of like
one
that mentality,
isolated
like
thing, right? They're all interconnected.
like when there's so much to do, it's like you don't even want to start, right? But you're gonna have to start doing something, right? Like when you want to clean the garage or something. Once you start cleaning, you just do it more and more, and it's tiring at first, but
little by little, man.
A little step by step, man.
And I think that's going back to the whole social media thing. When Michael was saying, hey, if it's just one person that got justice served him today, for now, that's a win, man.
I mean, the
little
Warriors
by little.
have that saying, right? Strength in numbers. The more you have people fighting for a right cause, the
Then
better
that was the
outcome.
Golden State Warriors when they beat the Cavs, dude.
That's what I'm
And if
saying.
nothing else, hopefully it just lets other people out there who are kind of maybe on the border, like, hey, they grew up like with that mindset that we're talking about. Like, I don't even want to be part of that mindset where you think, you're superior to other races or things.
It doesn't make sense.
Maybe they're like on the fence about something and they see on social media, like a lot of people supporting this. Maybe it'll click. Hopefully some things will start clicking to them and they'll be like, hey, this is the right thing to do.
Check some